100%. It's good to be 100%. Speaking of 100%, really going to test out this theory. Let's get pop the collar and get cocky. 5-0 last week. Little mock neck. Looked like a fucking douchebag. Okay. 5-0. As a show, we were 8-1. Mike was 3-1. I was 5-0 last week on picks against the spread. And this week was a little bit tougher as we got into it because there's only 13 games. Last week we had the benefit of picking from 16. You know, those extra 3 games I really do think help when you're narrowing it down. I've gone first every week in this. Do you want to continue that tradition? Would you like to go first this week?
I go first. Yeah, I go first. We usually line up on at least one game. So,
all right.
There we go. We'll start us off here with my picks this week. Did you tell them I went 3-1? I went 3-1 last week.
3-1,
yes.
And I believe you are like 13-8. You are 5 games above 500 on the season. You're absolutely on fire right now.
That's amazing. That's what I'm saying, guys. And the one team that I failed on was picking the Chiefs to cover. So by proxy of that and by proxy of this team, this underrated team going into KC and catching these sleepy Giants, give me the Chargers as my first pick on Sunday Night Football to win that game. They are underdogs, so it does not matter the spread. They're just going to win the game outright. My next one, I have the Cincinnati Bengals covering against the Cowboys. And everyone that's been tuned into the program is probably like, Mike, wait, you just took the Cowboys the last 2 weeks as one of your, shocking picks that no one expected to land. Well, now I'm going the other way. Cowboys building up some confidence the last couple of weeks. Cincinnati Bengals just playing like a pissed off, desperate team. I think this is a huge mismatch between the Bengals passing attack and the Cowboys secondary. Micah Parsons is not going to be able to get to Burrow in time, and they're going to cover. They're going to win by a touchdown plus. It's minus 5.5 for the Bengals on the road. So Vegas agrees with me that this game is not going to be close. I have the Bills covering against the Rams as well. A similar game where I just think it's a bad mismatch for the Rams defense to handle Josh Allen. And we saw a game a couple years ago in week 1 where they had some real problems with Josh Allen as a dual threat quarterback. I went to that Rams game a couple weeks ago. I think the Rams won last week, but it's just the team is shredded roster wise. And there's just some matchups like this that they're just not gonna be able to keep up, even with Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua out there. My next one might surprise people as well. I'm going with the Falcons to cover in Minnesota. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think Kirk Cousins is the type of player that I trust to have 4 interceptions and then come back the next week and have 0 and bounce back a little bit. He is the veteran to do it, and there's got to be some kind of pride, some kind of chip on Kirko Chains' shoulder. We've seen him just randomly rise up and have monstrous games. I think this is the week Kirko Chains does it on the road in Minnesota and at least covers this 5.5 points field goal game or so. And then my final one, I had the Pittsburgh Steelers covering the 6.5 points in Cleveland, or I think Cleveland's coming to Pittsburgh. Another one that might surprise some people because everyone's on the Browns. I love the Browns. I love watching the Browns play football with Jameis Winston. It's like a completely different team versus watching them with Deshaun Watson. But I really feel like that Denver game 2 nights ago now was like their last gasp. Like that was their last chance to just put it all on the line. And now you get Pittsburgh, whose last bad performance was against these Browns a few weeks ago. I think they're going to have extra motivation, extra fuel, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to mess Jameis up. Here's a hot take for this game. Cleveland goes from 500 yards, 30-plus points last week through the air to less than 250 passing yards and less than 10 points this week against the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and the Steelers win 21-10, something like that, and cover 6.5. So to go over them one more time, I got Chargers plus 2.5 points, but they're just going to win that game. Bengals minus 5.5 in Dallas. Bills minus 4.5 in LA. Falcons plus 5.5 points in Minnesota against the Vikings. And then the Steelers to cover against the Dog Pound in Pittsburgh, 6.5 points. Ooh, that was tough. I'm sick, by the way, y'all. I apologize.
Mike's playing hurt. We really appreciate that because I love having a chance to get together with my friends and talk about football and say things that are, ridiculous and don't really matter, but it's a good time. I want to say that the
vocals, Tony, the vocals, the brain is still completely fine.
There's something going on with the Rams where it's like they had 0 points in the first half of that game, scored all 21 against the Saints to win.
I didn't even see that.
I watched it. It's
Hmm.
just something going on with the Rams offense where things just aren't clicking. Blake Corum had his best game as a Ram. Hopefully they can continue to lean on Kyron Williams and Blake Corum to switch things around, and the Rams can get hot here in these final 5 games.
Mhm.
And then I love ballsy pick, just money line Chargers. It's got to be good. That's got to be plus 225 right there, taking them. Okay, here we go. Mike, I'm going to disagree right off the bat with you.
Oh boy.
What I saw from the Falcons is not good. And you got Cousins. You got Cousins coming back in this game against his Minnesota Vikings, Atlanta being there. I know that the Vikings are having trouble running the football a little bit. There was 2 fumbles last week from Aaron Jones, which kept that game maybe closer than it should have been. But I'm going to take the Vikings at home minus 4.5 as my first pick there, and I think that they're going to try and they're gonna try and heat up Cousins a little bit and test that arm on some quick outs and maybe drop some players in to some passing lanes and try and get some picks there. This next one, I don't feel good about this because it feels dirty to be betting on a game that it has number 1 overall pick implications, but I'm going to take the Titans over the Jaguars. Titans minus 3.5. They got down huge in that game, and they continued to fight, and they put up some points last week against Washington. I think at home that they're really trying to win games, and it just feels like the Jags are checked out, and that's fine. I get it. There's a lot of things going on. You got a coach that knows he's about to be unemployed. At least that's what it feels like. Cardinals at home. I'm going down with this Cardinal ship because we did the show 2 weeks ago, Mike, and I was like, yeah, Cardinals, it's a must-win game on the road in Seattle. And then you were like, well, I don't know, maybe they could steal the game in Minnesota. Kyler has had back-to-back games coming off the bye where he's thrown some terrible interceptions. And it's really rough to watch the way the offense is moving the football. And then all of a sudden he gets blitzed, panicked, and he's throwing up these punt type interceptions. Doesn't mean that I'm not gonna. I said I like the Cardinals 3 weeks ago. I'm not getting off the bandwagon. I think they find a way. They get home. They get right, and minus 2.5 for them. Then I'm going on the road for the Bears. They call it the interim bump, right? Like when the Bears are getting 4.5 points on the road in San Francisco. For me, it's more like the Bears have been close to winning. And I think that the defense was so upset. I know you're battling through there. The defense was so upset with where things were at. I think that there's a little extra motivation for them to be like, see, it was that guy, even though it's not. It wasn't just that guy. They have one of their best games of the season against a Niners team that is in disarray. And even if the Niners win, I still think they can keep it within 4.5 points. And then, Mike, where we agree this week, Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football. It's even if the Bengals know that their season is over, they are still a team that loves the bright lights. Jamar Chase wants to get out there and have another game where he goes for 225. And he's like, hey, if we weren't this bad, I'd be Offensive Player of the Year. And Joe Burrow would be the MVP if our defense, could stop a runny nose. And they can't do anything. It's so frustrating to watch the Bengals, unless, of course, they're playing the Chargers and you bought some expensive tickets and you're at the game and you're a Chargers fan, bolt up. Then you don't care that they can't stop anything. But you watch these other games and you're like, what is this? This is garbage. Okay, here we go. I got Vikings at home minus 4.5 over the Falcons. I got the Titans at home over the Jags minus 3.5. I got the Cardinals at home over the Seahawks minus 2.5. Bears on the road over the Niners plus 4.5. Bengals on the road on Monday Night Football minus 5.5 over the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys have won one game at home. It was on Thanksgiving against a Giants team that just looked the offensive line is going to get one of these quarterbacks hurt, and they pretty much already have. So
yeah, they already have.
Yeah, they've already
It doesn't
done it.
help the Cowboys either. Like they're a legacy team, so it just feels like growing up as a kid. Like there's just some extra special juice in beating on the Cowboys.
Yeah, especially in Jerry. He's got
Yeah.
new box, and he's always got papers. He looks like he's got like a play call sheet up there. He's like, "That's not what I said to run." Rico Dowdle, though, showing a little bit of life on Thanksgiving. That's the
I
one
like
thing.
Rico. I liked watching him in camp and stuff too.
So one thing that worried me about making this pick is that if they can figure out the run game enough, that could be the thing that keeps the Bengals from running up the score a little bit there.